Hassan Nasrallah is dead. The Israel Defense Forces posted a somewhat cryptic message on X on Saturday. It read that Hassan Nasrallah will no longer be able to terrorize the world. That message was followed within minutes by another more direct and unambiguous one from Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, the international spokesperson of the IDF. It left no one in doubt. The leader of the Lebanon-based Hezbollah was killed in his lair in an Israeli strike on the group's headquarters in Beirut on Friday. It was Israel's biggest success since the start of an operation codenamed Northern Arrows. Nasrallah's killing raises many questions though. What are its implications for West Asia and the world at large? How will Hezbollah respond? Will the 2006 Lebanon-Israel war play out all over again? Will Iran get involved? Will this bold move by Israel force Hezbollah to pull back from the border with Israel? And most importantly, will this daring operation pave the way for Israelis' return to their homes near the border with Lebanon? Now, what is unfolding in West Asia will impact you sooner than later. Make no mistake. I'll come to that if time permits. But first, let me take a moment or two to put all of this in its proper context for you. Now, Tehran is an Israeli TV series that premiered in Apple TV Plus in the year 2020. In it, an Iranian general receives a call on his mobile phone. At the other end of the line is an undercover Israeli spy. The spy detonates the phone the moment the Iranian general answers the call. Further is another Israeli TV drama on Netflix. In one of its episodes, a mobile phone bomb detonates when an enemy answers a call from who else but an Israeli spy, of course. The final episode of the second season of Tehran was aired on 17th June 2022. Word is that the third season of Tehran has been delayed. But the wait for the fifth season of Further might soon be over. Further's creator, Avi Issacharoff, is writing the next season of the series these days. Issacharoff posted a message on X on 17th September, barely 4 hours after thousands of pagers exploded simultaneously in a synchronized manner in Lebanon. Nothing comes close to reality, he wrote. And he's right. What the world saw unfold in Lebanon and Syria on that particular day was nothing short of spectacular and audacious. It could have been straight out of a John le Carré book or a James Bond film. More electronic devices exploded the next day, that is 18th September. Everything from smartphones and laptops to biometric devices and walkie-talkies blew up. More than 30 people were killed and 3,000 wounded, many with serious injuries. A majority of them were Hezbollah cadres. The attack put 1,500 of its fighters out of commission because of their injuries. Many were blinded or had their hands blown off. There were civilians among the dead too, including an 8-year-old girl, an 11-year-old boy, and 4 health workers. Now, who was behind these attacks? Well, one can only make an informed guess. Israel has neither confirmed nor denied responsibility for the attack. But Hezbollah squarely blames Israel for it, and perhaps with good reason. In 1996, Israel used the same method, a booby-trapped mobile phone, to kill Hamas's Yahya Ayyash. Now, the pages exploded hours after Israel announced the expansion of its Gaza war goals. A new goal is to enable the return of thousands of Israelis to their homes in areas bordering Lebanon. Now, these are people who were evacuated from areas that were in range of Hezbollah units. Between 60 to 70,000 Israelis have been evacuated from northern Israel in the past year. This after nearly daily exchanges of fire by Hezbollah following the 7th October 2023 attacks by Hamas. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his government will ensure that these people return to their homes. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says a new phase in the Gaza war has started. Its center of gravity is moving northward towards Israel's border with Lebanon. Israel's army chief Herzi Halevi in turn says his forces are determined to act. But Hezbollah links its stopping of rocket attacks on Israel to a Gaza ceasefire. It moved men and material close to the border with Israel after the Hamas attacks. It redeployed its fighters to frontline areas in southern Lebanon, and it has been firing rockets and missiles ever since. Now, at the heart of the issue is the Litani River. The Litani originates and flows entirely within the borders of Lebanon. It rises in the Bekaa Valley west of Baalbek, and it empties into the Mediterranean Sea north of Tyre. At 140 kilometers, the Litani is the longest river in Lebanon. The river is about 30 kilometers from Lebanon's border with Israel. Israel wants to push the Hezbollah as far north of the river. It wants to clear the area of Hezbollah fighters and prevent their return so that northern Israel is out of range of the Hezbollah rockets. And Israel has good reasons for wanting that. Why? Because of the UN Security Council Resolution 1701, which was adopted in the year 2006. It created a buffer zone between the UN-drawn blue line in southern Lebanon and the Litani River. Now, the blue line is the 120-kilometer line of withdrawal. It was identified in the year 2000 by the United Nations in cooperation with Lebanese and Israeli officials for the purpose of confirming the withdrawal of Israel's military from Lebanese territory. The blue line does not constitute the official border between Lebanon and Israel. The resolution says this area between the blue line and the Litani River must be free of any armed personnel, assets and weapons other than those of Lebanon's military and the United Nations interim force in Lebanon. Now, as of 2nd September 2024, UNIFIL consists of 10,058 peacekeepers from 50 troop contributing countries. Now, this might interest our viewers in India. UNIFIL has 903 Indian peacekeepers. India is the third largest contributor of troops to UNIFIL after Indonesia and Italy. A quick word about UNIFIL's history as well. The first UNIFIL troops arrived in the area in March 1978. After the 2006 war between Hezbollah and Israel, the UN Security Council enhanced UNIFIL's mandate. UNIFIL is deployed in southern Lebanon. Its area of operations is defined by the Litani River in the north and the Blue Line in the south. And any unauthorized crossing of the Blue Line by land or by air from any side constitutes a violation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. Kobe Michael is an analyst at Tel Aviv University's Institute for National Security Studies. He says the idea that Israel cannot realize its sovereignty over the northern part of the country is something that cannot be tolerated. The residents of the northern Israeli city of Nahariya air similar sentiments. Some of them want Israel to deal with Hezbollah once and for all. Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz is categorical. He says there will be no ceasefire in the north. Now, Andreas Krieg is with the King's College London. He sounds a note of caution. He says completely neutralizing Hezbollah might not be easy. Take a listen.
The idea for the IDF is to then just grab territory and holding it in southern Lebanon, moving or pushing Hezbollah physically up to the Litani River. This is at least something that Israel might be temporarily be able to achieve. but is a situation that the IDF will not be able to maintain for long. So we'll have to eventually withdraw again. And then obviously Hezbollah can move back in. So it's an operation at large cost that at very best would probably achieve operational objectives, military objectives, but will be far from achieving any strategic objectives because Hezbollah will not be unseated in Lebanon and Hezbollah will not be destroyed.
Now, the US, France and the allies have all called for a 21-day ceasefire across the Israel-Lebanon border. They've expressed support for a ceasefire in Gaza as well after holding the talks among themselves earlier this week. Now, US President Joe Biden says an all-out war is possible, but he remains hopeful of a settlement. The heaviest fighting in nearly 2 decades between Israel and Hezbollah, coupled with the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, raise fears of a new, wider conflict. Now, Hezbollah's main supporter and weapon supplier is Iran. The group is the most powerful faction in Tehran's so-called axis of resistance. Hezbollah has faced off against Israel since the Shiite Muslim movement was created by Iran. It was founded in 1982 to counter Israel's invasion of Lebanon. The group has since evolved into Iran's most powerful proxy in West Asia. A report for the US legislature says Hezbollah has 40 to 50,000 fighters. The Hezbollah claims, on the other hand, it has 100,000 fighters. It has been bringing rockets into Lebanon at a fast pace, anticipating a drawn-out conflict. So by all accounts, Hezbollah is the most formidable enemy Israel has faced on the battlefield, not because of numbers and technology, but in terms of sheer resilience. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has instructed his army to fight on. Hardliners in his government say Israel should reject any truce and keep hitting Hezbollah where it hurts them. Netanyahu's office released a photograph of him inside his office at the UN headquarters in New York City while using a landline telephone to approve the strike targeting Nasrallah. Before long, Israeli jets had conducted several heavy airstrikes on the headquarters of Hezbollah. Now, Hassan Nasrallah was 64 years old. He became the Secretary General of Hezbollah in 1992 when he was only in his 30s. He wore the black turban of a Sayyid or a descendant of Prophet Muhammad. Nasrallah grew up in Beirut's impoverished Karantina district. His family hailed from Bazourieh, a village in Lebanon's predominantly Shiite south, which today forms Hezbollah's political heartland. Nasrallah was part of a generation of young Lebanese Shiites whose political outlook was shaped by Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution. So the question is, who will get to return home first? Hostages from Gaza or Israelis who fled the areas bordering Lebanon? Now, Netanyahu says Israel has no choice and every right to enable its citizens to return to their homes. For his part, Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant says his military has neither forgotten the goals in Gaza nor the hostages in the Gaza enclave. Gallant says that now it is time to ensure that those displaced from the north return to their homes. But US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has his doubts. He fears that an escalation will only make it harder for Israeli civilians to return home. So what will Israel do? Will it invade Lebanon? Will Hezbollah and Iran sit idly by? Watch this space.